Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody around the world. Welcome to Friday, June the 24th, second attempt at Harmonize to Energize. Welcome, welcome everyone. My name is Terry Matthews. I work for Mary Burmeister Jin Shin Jyutsu, and I'm happy to host Harmonize to Energize with you each Friday, 2 o'clock New York time. I hope you're all feeling reasonably harmonized. If not, this is a good place to be. For anyone who's new to the art of Jin Shin Jyutsu, Jin Shin Jyutsu is an art of harmonizing life energy as it travels congruently or not through our body through energy pathways. These pathways intermingle, connect, run parallel all the way through our body, and we harmonize them by placing our hands on what we call safety energy locks. There are 26 to the left and the right of the spine and 3 in the arm, 23 left and right on the body, 3 in the arm. When we place either our palms, back of hands, thumbs or fingers on these energy locks, just like an acupuncture, they act as valves to release any pressure, any obstacles, to allow the energy to flow more congruently and to keep our body, mind, and spirit, or a spirit, mind, and body, in as much harmony as it can be. So, we've recently begun discussing the elements, and last week we discussed the wood element. Today we're going to discuss the neighbor of the wood element going clockwise, which is the air or metal element, and this governs the lung and large intestine. Now, all these different elements are independent and interdependent. In other words, they have their own particular roles to play, which is unique to them, but they also rely, support, energize, and sometimes burden each other. The wood element, which we discussed last week, will in fact provide oxygen for our lungs and large intestine, which are the 2 main organs governing the metal element. So, without further ado, let's have a look and have a read and have a leer and peer a little more about lung and large intestine and the metal element. And today I'm going to refer to cards created by Walter Rodriguez Krauser. She has Health is in Your Hands flashcards. And I'd thoroughly recommend, if you're new to Jin Shin Jyutsu, you might want to consider purchasing these because they're very well laid out and very simple to understand. So Walter gives us an overview of the metal element via the understanding of depths, which in Jin Shin Jyutsu is basically a dynamic level of consciousness, frequency, and vibration. So, second depth. The element is air or metal. The second depth is about harmonious relationships within ourselves and with others. It represents the emotional body. Here we experience duality, becoming conscious of I and you. In the second depth, deep skin is formed. According to Jin Shin Jyutsu, connective tissue and interstitial tissue also belong to this layer. Interstitial tissue is the space between the cells. Now, my friends, we need space in order to transform. So the interstitial fluid allows us to make transformations which affect tissues and cells. In the second depth, the big breath essence of 6th depth, main, central, etc., becomes our personal breath, which we receive through the lungs. And this breath connects all the dimensions and layers within us, spirit, mind, and body, holding and belonging together. Breath also connects us to cosmic energy or light. So, the branches of the wood element, the trees, feed us with oxygen we breathe into our lungs, and what we don't need, we let go through our lung and large intestine. And we don't just breathe in through the lungs, we breathe in through the pores of the skin. The second depth governs the skin, the nose, and various other elements within our being. Color is white. Safety energy locks are 5 to 15. And basically it allows us to clarify the energy as it moves between our soul, mind, and body. So without further ado, we're going to do what we usually do, which is practice the 36 breaths in 4 sets of 9. And a breath, for those of you who are new, is a full body breath, and we breathe out from the 4, so energy lock 4, which is at the occiput, down through the 15, which is at the groin, to the big toe, which is the 7, and then from the 7 through the 15 and the 2 of the hip line, back up to the 4. And that's one spiral of light, one breath. Down the front, up the back. As we exhale, we let go of what we don't need in order to build what we do need. And then we are purifying on the inhale, bringing the energy up the spine, back through the hip line, back to the head and the occiput. And we're going to do that 9 times. And we're going to do that using representations of second depth, which are the ring fingers, which is the first practice. And the second practice is the first step of the lung flow. For those of you that are familiar, or if you're not, this is it. Left hand underneath the left rib cage, spleen area, right hand on the shoulder, right hand on the safety energy lock 22, under the shoulder girdle. Or the opposite is also true, right hand under the right rib cage, left hand on right 22. And that's the first step of the lung flow. The first and or last step of any flow is a self-help. The next practice after that, the third practice, will be the first step of the large intestine. Because as we said, lung and large intestine are the governors, helpers of second depth, that whole air element. And how we're going to do that is we're going to place the right hand on the left shoulder, holding this right index finger. Or the opposite is also true. Left on right, holding the left index finger. And finally, the final practice of 4 is the heart, placing the thumbs underneath the shoulder girdle, fingers against the shoulder blade. The cosmic hug, opening up that bus line where the lungs and the heart are positioned, are placed. So without further ado, sit up as straight as you can. If you need to support your back, place a cushion behind your back. Close eyes, switch off, stun your cell phones. Be as peaceful as you can. Environment's very important for the effectiveness of any kind of self-help harmonizing work. And then choose left or right ring finger. And I always like to examine the segments of the fingers so that we have an idea of which one might need more attention. And once we've chosen, we can hold the whole finger or those segments. Segments subdivide into bust line, waistline, hip line, your choice. So closing eyes, holding left or right ring finger. Breathe out from head through hip to toe, skin to bone. And feel your connection as the energy moves down the front of the body. As it moves through the pathways down to your feet, feel the connection to the earth beneath. And then as we inhale or receive the breath, feel that energy return up the same path it came. No particular way of breathing, in through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the nose, out through the mouth. Whatever comes comfortable to you. Let us begin. Now, one of the major emotional responses when the lung or large intestine are out of balance is feelings of sadness or grief. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's perfectly natural to experience all the different emotions. The question is, how long do we stay in that emotion before it harmonizes? Sometimes our feelings overwhelm us. This is why practices such as this are so important, because they allow us to create a space within ourselves to transform such experiences of overwhelm. So the grief and the sadness transformed into a more flowing acceptance of what is. We can't necessarily change anything, particularly not the past, but we can transform our response to it. And this is what we're doing here. And when we reach the ninth exhalation inhalation, just pause and go into what I describe as the neutral zone and be the observer, the witness of what is. How and where do you feel, if you feel anything? Maybe observe what you're thinking, following your emotional response if you felt it. And where in the body you might have felt it. And if, as I say, any sadness or grief comes, it's fine. Just let it be as it is, but allow it to transform, to move on, move forward. Because this is when we expand our consciousness and maybe see a bigger picture, which will help us resolve some of our grief. Okay, the second practice, which is the first step of the lung flow. As I said, the left hand can be underneath the left rib cage, right hand under left shoulder girdle here. So change on 22. This hand's on 14, this is on 22. The reverse is also true, or the opposite is also true. So choose whichever one feels comfortable for you. And we begin again, 9 exhalation inhalations. Let us begin. As we learn to exhale and inhale more naturally, it clears our mind, expands our consciousness, clears our nasal passages, helps our sense of smell. So, sooner or later, we feel a pulse here and a pulse here, a sensation here, somewhat like you would feel on the radial artery if you were holding it. This teaches you that the energy is communicating. There is space between these 2 points, and transformation is allowed to happen. So as you reach the 9th exhalation, inhalation, just pause, go into the neutral zone, and notice or witness how you feel, where you feel, how you be. Perhaps your lungs feel more expanded. That's a good thing. Helps us take in more of the big breath of life. Light. So the third practice of 9 exhalation inhalations is in fact the first step to the large intestine flow. We're going to place either right hand on left shoulder or left hand on right shoulder. And we're going to hold the index finger of that same hand. So I'm going to place my right hand on the left shoulder, holding my right index finger. You may do the opposite. Left on right, right holding the left index finger. Whichever one you choose, it's the first step of the large intestine. The large intestine has a job of letting go of all those things we no longer need if we allow it. So here we go. And remember, the energy is moving down from the head through the hip line to the feet, and even deeper beneath the feet to the center of the earth, crystalline line. And as we receive, the breath comes up through the feet, up through the back of the hip line, back to the occiput, cleansing and purifying, letting go in order to grow. And again, you may feel the pulse, the index finger, in the shoulder. And that's a sign that the 2 areas are now communicating. There's a space between them, and the energy is moving and allowing us greater transformation. Now don't be shy if any kind of sorrow or grief starts revealing itself, emerging as you do these practices, then you know you're actually working within the right energy pathways, the right field. And just be authentic. Allow yourself whatever emotional expression you need to do. Obviously, one that doesn't harm others, but allows you to release in a harmonious way. Environment is important. That is why, or one of the reasons why, choosing an environment where you feel supported to do these practices is essential, I would say. All right, as you reach the 9th exhalation, inhalation, and just relax, place your hands in the middle 15, center pubic area, pubic bone. And again, become the witness, see how you feel. Be the observer. "27 breaths on." How do you feel? And the last but not least practice is the hug. Say holding the thumbs underneath the shoulder girdle, the fingers to the side of the shoulder blade. If that's not comfortable, take one hand away and place it in the groin, 15 area. And exhale. Close eyes, drop shoulders. Naturally letting go, and naturally receiving your renewed cosmic purified energy. And all the time we're doing these practices, we're expanding our own energy field and connecting with the energy field of everybody else around us, whether we know it or not. As this work is done really at the level of the energetic dimensions, which are not always obvious to everybody, unless you have an open and active third eye. But just like tinsel on a Christmas tree, we are all connected. Shining, sparkling strands of tinsel, all connected to each other. When we embrace ourselves like this, we're connecting to our heart and lungs, muscle line, in a form of completion, a hug, where we hold ourselves in this space of transformation, an acknowledgement. We are soul, heart, mind, and body, and we are significant. We have a role to play. Sometimes we don't hug ourselves enough. Sometimes we won't hug others. Emotional responses cloud our judgment. Or maybe it's just not appropriate. So when you come to the 9th exhalation, inhalation, you can stay like this for a little bit longer, or you can relax in your hands and just sense how you're feeling, maybe what you're thinking. But don't immediately get up and rush around and start doing stuff. Just keep in the silence and the peace for as long as you can. Because you're building up a rhythm, a quality that you want to integrate, that you want forever to build upon. We go and spill this nice, peaceful existence, frequency, by jumping up, we create incongruence. Train yourself to stay centered for your connection with the ground through your feet. And be at peace. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the recorded version of what happened earlier today when I forgot to record. Hopefully it's serving you. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the day, whatever time of the day it is. A wonderful weekend and a wonderful rest of the week. I like that word, wonderful, wonderful. Till next Friday, when our mystery presenter will be with us. I'm not telling you who it is, otherwise it wouldn't be a mystery, would it? So I look forward to being with you all, those of you that can make it. Tell your friends, I'll send the links. And we'll be here same time next Friday. Harmonize to Energize.